All right, in today's lesson, we're going to be solving rational equations algebraically. Now, rational just means like ratio, which means a fraction, right? So that's what you're going to see is a lot of fractions with a variable in the denominator. But we'll get through this, don't worry. So let's look at number one, I'll walk you through it. Okay, so when you see this, you need to remember the whole principle of, if there's fractions, in order to add or subtract, you have to have the common denominator. So you got to think through these as far as what is my common denominator going to be? And that, in this case, is going to be your least common multiple. So look at your denominators. What is the smallest number that all of them can divide into? Well, sometimes you just multiply them all together, and like in this case, it's a 2x. So what I'm going to do is rewrite my question multiplying through by 2x on every term. Plus 1/2 times 2x. So there's my least common multiple right here, right here, right here. And the goal of this little thing is to get rid of the fractions. So watch what happens. This one becomes 2x squared, right? Over here, the x's will cancel out, and I'll end up with a 6. Over here, the 2's cancel out, and I'll end up with just x. And now, it's back to just a good old Algebra 1 quadratic equation. So now we're going to employ all we know about quadratics. So I want to keep my x squared term positive, so I'm going to move these terms over to the left. So I'll have 2x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. And now it's a trinomial, and I should attempt to factor. So let's see if this factors. So if I multiply to get, what, negative 12, and I need to add to get a negative 1. Well, 4 and 3. If the 4 is negative, it works great. Okay, so I'm going to do my grouping thing. So I'm going to do 2x squared minus 4x plus 3x, I've rewritten that middle term, minus 6 equals 0. And then let's do the grouping. So I'll take a 2x out of these two, so it'll be x minus 2 plus 3x minus 2. So let's continue on over here. Notice the x minus 2 is uncommon, so I could take that out. And then I'll have 2x plus 3, still equal to 0, so I keep on going. X minus 2 equals 0 means that x is 2. And then 2x plus 3 equals 0. If I solve that, I'll have 2x equals negative 3, so x equals negative 3 halves. All right, so solving the rationals is not that bad. You just got to find that least common multiple that's going to get rid of your fractions for you. Let's try another one. Number 2. Okay, so this x over here is x over 1, and my least common multiple on this guy is just x, right? So if I multiply both sides by x, let's see what happens. These x's will cancel out, so I'll have 20 minus x equals x squared. And now my fractions are gone. And I've got a quadratic, so I'm going to move these guys over here to keep my x squared term positive. And I'll have x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. And now we're going to factor, so we need to multiply to be negative 20. I'm going to add to be a positive 1. So that would be a 5 and a negative 4. And remember the shortcut I told you that if this coefficient right here is a 1, you can go straight from here to your factors. You don't have to do the grouping thing. So I'll have x plus 5 times x minus 4. And then I set equal to 0 and solve it. So x equals negative 5, and x will equal positive 4. There it is. Let's try another one. Let's look at number 3. All right, that 3 is over 1. So let's think, what is my least common multiple going to be? Well, x times x plus 1 times 1. Kind of gross, but we can do this, okay? So x times x plus 1. So we're going to rewrite this with that least common multiple off to the side. So maybe you can see what's going to happen here. Don't forget the minus right here in the middle. Be aware. Minus 1 over x plus 1 times our least common multiple equals 3. Times x plus 1. All right, so it looks a little crazy, But look, let's do some reducing. These x's will cancel out. This whole x plus 1 binomial will cancel out. And then these will all be multiplied together. So let's clean this guy up. So 1 times x plus 1 is just x plus 1. Now think of this as a negative 1 that we're distributing. What's left over is just an x, so it's just minus x. Here, I need to distribute that 3 in the x, so it'll be equals 3x squared plus 3x, right? All right, so now we're just going to regroup and put common terms together. Now notice these x's right here will cancel each other out. So really all I need to do is move the 1 over to the right side. So I'll have 3x squared plus 3x minus 1. So it's a trinomial, so I'm going to attempt to factor what multiplies to negative 3 but adds to a positive 3. A 1 and a 3 is the closest thing, but that doesn't work. So if the factoring thing doesn't work out, remember you have other methods that we can do. Like, in this case, I would jump right to quadratic formula. So let's think about this. My a value would be a 3, the b value would be a 3, and the c value would be a negative 1. So let's do that. Let's do this. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. All right, let's clean this up a little bit. See where we end up. Negative 3 plus or minus, so this be 9. Negative times a negative, make it positive, plus 12 over 6. All right, so this is 21. All right, looking at this, there's no way to reduce 21 under the radical, so this is my final answer. Now resist the urge to cancel this 3 and this 6. You can't do that. This is attached to this radical with the plus and minus. So you can't do any kind of reducing on one side or the other. So leave it just like that. Let's jump over to number 4. Okay, what's my least common multiple going to be here? I'll put that over 1 maybe. What's the smallest thing that all of them can go into? Well, it would have to be the t squared. That's what we'd have to do. So we're going to rewrite this with our multiplying through by t squared, all right? Plus 8 over t times t squared plus 15 times t squared equals 0. All right, let's clean it up. Let's see what happens. These t squareds right here will cancel out, and I'm just left with a 1. This t and this t squared, they will reduce. We'll just have 1 t left. So it'll be plus 8t, and here will be plus 15t squared equals 0. All right, so now we just have a quadratic. I'm going to put it in exponent order so I can see better what's going on here. So let's see if it'll factor. Let's do the multiply add thing, see if it'll factor. So multiply to get 15, I'm going to add to get 8. Well, a 5 and a 3 should work, but look, this is not a 1, so I've got to do the grouping thing. So let's do that. So 15t squared plus, instead of 8t, I'm going to write 5t plus 3t plus 1 equals 0. And then I group. If I take out a 5 and a t, that will leave me with 3t plus 1. Bring down the plus sign. Nothing in common here, so I just put a 1, and I'll still have 3t plus 1. All right, so I have 3t plus 1 equals 0. There's my first factor. And the leftovers become 5t plus 1 equals 0. So when I solve this, I'll have 3t equals negative 1. So that means that t is equal to negative 1/3. There's one of my answers. And then I'm just going to scooch over here. 5t equals negative 1 divided by 5. So the other solution is negative 1/5. T equals negative 1/5. All right, let's keep going. Got a couple more. Look at number 5. All right, what is my least common multiple going to be here? All right, that 1's over 1. What's the term that all of them can go into? Well, it'd have to be x times x minus 2. So that guy. So let's multiply through by our least common multiple. So x times x minus 2, all of that over x equals 3 times x minus 2 over x minus 2 minus 1 times x minus 2. All right, let's reduce some stuff here. Let's get rid of some things. So these x's will cancel. Hopefully you see that. What's left over is this 2 times x minus 2. Here, look, the x minus 2 binomial will cancel out, and all that's left over is the 3x. Here, I'm going to have to do some distributing. So it's going to become negative x times x minus 2. Now, I'm going to clean it up and keep on distributing. I'm going to scooch over just a smidge and see what I can do here. That's going to give me 2x minus 4 equals 3x minus x squared plus 2x. All right, let's clean this up even more. So 2x minus 4 equals negative x squared plus 5x. Now I'm going to move these terms onto the left side so that my x squared is positive. So that'll be x squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 4. Keep on going. X squared minus 3x minus 4. Now we're to a point we maybe can do the multiply add thing. So multiply to negative 4, add to a negative 3. What would that be? That would be a negative 4 and a positive 1. All right, my coefficient right here is a nice 1, so I can jump right into the factors. X minus 4, x plus 1. Remember, it's all equal to 0. So as I finish this, I have x equals 4 and x equals negative 1. All right, so there's my two solutions. It kind of bled into that space, but there you go. Let's do one last example. All right. Let's think through. What is our least common multiple going to be here? Well, it's going to be x times x plus 3. Leave it in factored form until we reduce some things, okay? So we're going to distribute this throughout each term. So 4 times x plus 3 over 4 plus 2 times x plus 3 over x plus 3 equals negative 3 times x plus 3. All right, let's clean this up. Notice this x will cancel with this x. This cancels with this, and this is going to stay put. I'm going to distribute and clean up. So it's going to be 4 times these terms, so 4x plus 12 plus 2x equals, distribute that, I'm going to have negative 3x squared minus 9x. All right. So notice the x squared is negative, so I'm going to move it to the left. So I'm going to have 3x squared plus 9x. What is this? Plus 4x plus 12 plus 2x. All right, we got some cleaning up to do here, right? So we will have, I'm just going to scooch up here, 3x squared. Now I've got 9x plus 4x plus 2x. That gives me 15x plus 12. So if I do my multiply add chart, multiply to get 36, but add to get 15, let's think about that. That would be a 12 and a 3. And since there's a 3 right there, I have to do the grouping thing. So let's break this up. Let's do 3x squared plus 12x plus 3x plus 12. So what's in common here? A 3x. That will give me x plus 4. Bring the plus sign down. Bring it on 3. Take out a 3, and I'll have x plus 4. So then I regroup. So x plus 4 is going to be equal to 0, and the leftovers are 3x plus 3 equals 0. So I'll have x equals negative 4, jump the 3, divide by 3, so x will be negative 1. So there's my two solutions, negative 4 and negative 1. All right, I hope this all makes sense to you and you're getting it okay. We'll see you when we get to class.